On intervening night of May 6th and 7th, India launched Operation Sindoor. In 25 minutes, 27 missiles fired, 9 terror den completely decimated, which included Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters and also Jaish-e-Mohammed nerve center in Bawalpur. 100 terrorists killed, which included terror clan of Masood Azhar, the man whose hands are soaked in blood, a globally designated terrorist and man responsible for Pulwama bombing. Right now I'm joined by Major General Ashok Kumar, who is Director General of Center for Joint Warfare Studies. He's with us and we would like to know more about this operation. You think that this operation, by conducting this operation, India was able to achieve military objective, psychological objective, diplomatic objective and political objective?
Okay, for understanding this, you have to go a little back in time. We have a concept of line of control, which was ratified in 1972 Shimla Agreement. It gained some kind of sanctity. India has been honoring that. But you would be aware that in 1999 Kargil conflict, it was the Pakistan which violated this sanctity. Thereafter, there have been occasions and attempts by local units to ensure dominance on the line of control, but the political masters have never been involved in owning any of such actions. It was for the first time in 2016 when Uri attack happened by Pakistani based terrorists, wherein they killed close to 20 soldiers of Uri Brigade headquarters, and in response to that the ground based surgical strike was launched. Now, there were three peculiarities of this operation. One, it was in Pakistani occupied Kashmir. Second, it was across the line of control. And since it was launched by the ground forces, so the depth of operations was also minimal. But the main change was that for the first time in the history, government establishment, that is the political masters, owned this operation. Now, that was the starting of this Indian response shift which commenced. Then we come 3 years later in Pulwama, when again Pakistani backed terrorists killed 40 CRPF people who were moving in a convoy, and therefore it became very, very important for India to respond more strongly. So this time, as against using the land forces, India used the air force in Balakot strike, hitting deep. But even in this point of time, the targets were selected in Pakistani occupied Kashmir across the line of control, not across the international border. Of course, political establishment owned this. A different kind of threshold was crossed, because once you cross using the aircraft across the so-called LOC or border, it is supposed to be quite serious issue. Anyway, Pakistan was not able to respond, and then again we come to Pahalgam. Now, this was a different thing altogether. When Pahalgam happened on 22nd of April, killing 26 terrorists on the religion basis who had come from all over the country, so that raised the threshold altogether. Having seen the response of India in 2016 and 2019, Pakistan was very sure that India will respond. And Prime Minister Modi and all people in the government had said so, that we will respond and take avenge of this kind of dastardly act. But nobody knew amongst the public that the kind of action which was anticipated. But it was on morning of 7th of May around 0120 hours when we hit 7 to 9 terrorist camps. And this time the major shift included that the attacks went beyond line of control or Pakistani occupied Kashmir. They touched Muridke and Bahawalpur, which you have rightly stated that they were the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba. In 2016 and 2019, there was some doubt as to how much damage has been done. So this time it was very, very critical that the damage is brought to the knowledge of entire world in no uncertain terms. And therefore these targets were specifically chosen. We went as deep as 100 kilometers, attacked the headquarters, and we used the precision bombs on the terrorists and their terrorist infrastructure, deliberately ignoring the civilian population as well as ignoring the military infrastructure. Because we wanted to avenge what they did in Pahalgam, send our message, and then we did not have any attempt or intention to escalate the conflict further.
Normally, in every operation, we have seen that there is an element of surprise. In this particular operation, India had already conveyed that we are going to hit you and we are going to hit you hard where it is going to hurt you most. And Pakistan was also well prepared because to ensure that India, to scuttle any kind of a move from the Indian side, there was a window of 14 days. But still, you feel that somewhere Pakistan was caught napping, despite having given the window of 14 days, and it was on the 15th day finally the strike was conducted.
Not really. Pakistan was not caught napping. Actually, what had happened, normally for your preparedness, first thing you prepare is the air defense protection of your country. So Pakistan did deploy a number of air defense radars and other resources, but sadly for him, it was all of the Chinese origin, and those equipments didn't perform. And when Indians had selected the targets, the missiles which were used from Rafale fighter, the Scalp missile and hammer guided bombs, they could not detect it. And even in our chosen method of targeting these things, we damaged these radars so that we created the gaps in their air defenses. Of course, as I have already highlighted, that the equipment was not potent enough to really detect our attack. So they were, surprised. And probably in their scheme of things, they would have still thought that our primary response is going to be in the area of Pakistani occupied Kashmir across the line of control, and we may not go to the area of Punjab like Bahawalpur and Murudke, which were so deep and where the main terrorists were hiding. So I think they got this hammering primarily because of two reasons. Firstly, the lack of appreciation as to where we can strike, that is the the across the IB, and second, the use of the poor quality of air defense equipment taken from China.
Because often we have seen that Pakistan keeps on boasting about its aerial supremacy, and they also keep on flaunting about the equipment that they got from China. Somewhere you feel that the Chinese equipment totally failed. It is because of that reason that Pakistan had to suffer these losses.
Absolutely. If you see, the 80% of defense equipment inventory of Pakistan is from China. And whether it is air defense radars, the aircraft of J-10 categories, J-17 categories, they are, ships, marines, destroyers, you name a thing, everything has come from China. China also got this opportunity in a manner to test their equipment, its real efficacy, because normally when you produce an equipment, you test under the peace conditions, in ranges, but the real battle conditions are totally different. So while apparently indicating to the world that China is a well-wisher of Pakistan, they use Pakistan to test their equipment, and since these equipments turn out to be of a poor quality, and therefore it led Pakistan to reach where it has reached.
To what extent do you think that the China's role had been in this particular operation? Because we have seen in the past also 47, then 65, then 71. Nowhere that China was directly involved. You think that in this particular operation there was a direct involvement of China trying to help out Pakistan?
See, China has been supporting of Pakistan right from the word go, but not of the kind of support which it extended this time. Actually, its intimacy with Pakistan increased from 1963 onwards, when part of the Pakistani occupied Kashmir, the Sakshgam Valley, which was with them, was handed over to China. And China used this to develop its Karakoram Pass, and now it is making the effort of developing its China-Pakistan economic corridor as part of its Belt and Road initiative to connect it to Gwadar port, so that its susceptibility of trade via the Malacca Strait, where India is in a dominating position, that can be saved, and he develops an alternate route. So from that time the intimacy has increased. But despite that, in 1965 when Pakistan was getting a beating, and in 1971, when the Pakistan was actually broken into parts, you are well aware that East Pakistan turned out to be Bangladesh with our effort and support of Mukti Bahini. But their support was, very, very marginal, frankly speaking. They didn't come to the support of Pakistan in a manner that can affect operations of India. However, this time, rather than waiting as to when India is going to respond or what kind of action is going to be taken by India, the moment Pahalgam happened, from that day onwards, China has taken multiple actions to ensure that Pakistan is not able to only ward off the Indian planned attacks, but is also able to put impacts on Indian defense forces. For that, it provided its weaponry, adjusted their air defense radars. There are reports, open media, that probably they established a control center also. Right from the word go, they supported Pakistan United Nations Security Council, where they did not let the TRF's name getting included in that resolution, and followed by their foreign minister told categorically that they are there with all their might to support in the fight of the Pakistan sovereignty. So this time the support extended by China to Pakistan was unprecedented nature, which was not seen earlier.
Anywhere the Chinese satellite also?
Yes, China is actually the second largest satellite projecting country after United States of America. It has got large number of constellations in various orbits. Its geosynchronous satellites today, that constellation is able to give you inputs every 30 minutes. They are currently in the process of developing satellites by 2030 as per their plan, on which they have already started work, wherein that time will reduce to 15 minutes. So there other geosynchronous satellites as well as the satellites in the LEO and MEO orbits, low Earth observation, low Earth orbits and the medium Earth orbits satellites. They have already been positioned to focus its critical areas of interest, so as to say the South China Sea, Taiwan, the countries around South China Sea, on India, on in Eastern Ladakh, on India-China border and elsewhere. So the moment this happened, they started providing inputs through the satellite resources to Pakistan. In coordination with, they already have launched the few Pakistani satellites themselves, because Pakistan doesn't have that launch capacity. Bulk of its satellites, whichever they have got, is from China only. So they actively supported Pakistan by giving them satellite inputs, so that Pakistan can get inputs about the deployment of forces and resources of India. But we were smarter. We took certain actions now to reveal these positions efficiently. And the main action provided by China, in addition to the satellites, was the deployment of air defense radars. And the in height of the LAC incursion in 2023, they had carried out a major exercise to develop the interoperability and developing capability to help each other in kind of crisis. So
it went wrong. Despite China providing them weapon, Chinese radar system, aerial defense system didn't work, and then satellite had been keeping eye on each and every moment of India. Then what really went wrong? That why Pakistan was caught off guard?
So as I have highlighted in some way earlier, firstly, the Indian resources were deployed in a manner that the satellite coverage which it tried to give was not able to give authentic information to the Pakistanis. Second, the air defense radars which it had deployed for the protection of the Pakistani nation, that failed miserably. It had a different kind of characteristics to detect targets at the low altitudes, medium altitudes and high altitudes, but majority of the cases in this, our aircraft did not cross the line of control or the IB. They stayed on own side, and on own side only they had launched the missiles of scalp category, which is a low level missile. It could not get detected, and its accuracy is very, very high. Actually, Rafales are the best aircraft today, despite whatever claim is done by USA about F-16 and F-35 and other countries in the world, because they propagate their own product to get the market share. These were able to get the target. So its failure to utilize that information more so failing to appreciate as to where India is going to strike. So their focus of deployment and other things was, they were probably more focusing in the LOC area, more focusing in the Karachi area, that there may be some, naval strikes. And they were not, expecting that we will be doing some actions like Bahawalpur Muridke. So this lack of appreciation and, understanding as to how India could respond. So that is something which, kept them off guard. And of course, Karachi radar, we also took it in the airstrike subsequently on 10th morning.
You think that India proved to be a master of deception because there was an announcement about the civil defense mock drill, and Pakistan must have thought that maybe after mock drill, India will plan some kind of an attack. So that way also they were caught off guard.
So I think there's a point, but to my mind, mock drill was not primarily done only to deceive Pakistan. Because that would have given only the impression, okay, that India is, preparing and it is not immediately going to strike. It may take few more days, to strike. But mock drill was aimed at two things. One, that it was also preparing the country that should escalation go up, the people are ready. And second, in the garb of this thing, a positive effort being made. In the garb of this also, gave an impression to Pakistan about the timing at which we will strike.
I think that there is a lesson for India also to learn, because often we have seen, as we had been talking about, in 65, 71, there was no involvement of China, despite Pakistan giving Shaks Kam Valley to China on platter. But this time there had been a direct involvement so far as men, material and resources and sources are concerned. But you think that India is now, this two-front war seems to be becoming reality, which we had been talking about in this military domain?
Absolutely. The India is conscious of this fact that, two war front is a reality. And it is also true that when, Pakistan joins a conflict with India, China earlier was believed that it may or may not join the conflict. But now what has emerged, it is clear that if Pakistan is involved, China will in any case will get involved. And second, if China gets involved, Pakistan in any case will get involved. In fact, the Pakistan's attack in 1965 happened because it felt that India has weakened because of loss of 1962, and it will be easy for Pakistan to capture the areas of Jammu and Kashmir, for which it is making an effort right from beginning. But the new reality which is emerging of the two front, that one is that we have two geographic entities of two nations and we are fighting them in a simultaneous time frame. But the different issue is that today if there is a fight in future with Pakistan, you can deem to assume that the Chinese entire military might will be available to Pakistan. They have also known that in the last minute probably they cannot perform unless they have used that equipment for substantial amount of time, because there are a large number of assets of Chinese in Pakistan. Therefore, the possibility of some PLA troops getting deployed there for the protection of those assets can also not be ruled out. So I think as we go ahead, we have to take it much more seriously and prepare our capability development on those lines.
You think that now we have to be prepared for this scenario also, that there can be Chinese involvement in near future if it's going to be a full-scale conventional war?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We saw that after that, because India, once it started conducting their surgical strike, where they were able to decimate and demolish their headquarters, and after that there was an escalation from Pakistan's side. They started targeting civilian locations, and finally India carried out another strike, this time targeting their air bases. Once again, we saw that Pakistan failed to do anything, because they tried their level base, they sent projectile, they fired missile. We saw that how many of the projectiles were fired from their side, but all of them crumbled like metal pieces before the aerial defense system. So what really made the difference?
So Pakistanis, made three type of effort. One is that after 22nd, from 23rd April onwards, they started breaking the ceasefire on the line of control, which was continuing since 2021. So initially with the small arms, then the mortars, and then they opened the long-range guns also, which were not supposed to take place because of our existing agreement. And in that, some of our people, the civilians in Poonch, also got caught, and some people lost our life. their life. Of course, now there are bunkers, and once they got that Pakistan is doing these kind of things, they started taking use of that shelters, and subsequent casualties got managed. And of course, India also responded that in a big way. Second, to probe once the attack was undertaken by us on 7th of May morning, night 7 to 8, from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. they sent about close to 400 drones, majority of which were from Turkey, to probe, to get the surveillance, to seek the response of Indian air defense systems, and also to create damage. And they activated the entire western front, from the LOC to Punjab to Rajasthan to Gujarat, down up to the Sar Creek. So that is the kind of effort they made. And of course they used certain other resources, but all drones were negated by our air defense, army air defense, and the air force air defense resources. In fact, so much so that they in their LC firing, they targeted a Gurudwara in Punch, and they targeted Christian establishment, they targeted schools, anything. In fact, they also made a statement and saying that they want to target even the Harmandir Sahib. That is the kind of the thought they had. But anyway, our missiles and entire air defense was intact, and therefore they could not do any damage whatsoever, which is unprecedented in history of war fighting. Even the countries like Israel, who have got so much of effective air defense, so if large number of missiles and targets are fired at them, so few still land and creating some kind of damage. But it was a zero loss to the Indian civilians and Indian establishments and the Indian assets. So, but still when they did this, we responded, but we still gave that message that we are in a response mode. You did Pahalgam, we did 7th morning strike. You have done drones, we have done the second thing. But again, the next night they did not stop, despite our telling them that we are not interested in escalation. So we had a major strike on going 10th morning, which is unprecedented, which was so devastating that which forced their DGMO to give a call to our DGMO requesting for a ceasefire. And initially he tried in the forenoon, but then finally the phone was picked up in the afternoon about 15:35. And the ceasefire was agreed at 1700 hours.
What was that moment, if I talk about? Because we have seen that they had been nuke mongering. They were saying that we have got a nuclear weapon because of the bluff that they have been using off and on. And this time also they were nuke mongering. There was a statement coming from their netas, whether it was the defense minister, whether it was deputy prime minister, even the prime minister went on to the extent of saying, Bilawal Bhutto also said the same thing. What was that moment that finally brought Pakistan on knees and they felt like surrendering and they started calling for ceasefire?
Well, if you are seeing the historical development of nuclear weapons with both the countries, India did its first detonation in 1974, and second time it did detonation in 1998, which was followed by Pakistani detonation also in 1998, and both the countries were put under sanctions by USA and other Western nations. So when they intruded in Kargil in 1999, they played this nuclear card, and Bill Clinton intervened, but then told them that okay, you withdraw, and when we were on the almost throwing them out and the little thing was left, then they withdrew. So they had developed this perception that it is the nuclear bogey which will ensure that India does not go much beyond the smaller skirmishes. If you really see the genuine nuclear powers, they normally don't state these things, that they are going to use it in the first chance. It's a serious issue. In fact, since the time of inception, the nuclear weapons have been used only once in the lifetime of our war fighting and existence, and that is in 1945 on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and nowhere else. Whereas there are large number of countries having the large number of nuclear heads lying with them. So it has to be given that kind of seriousness and understanding, and not that it just keep doing that. We had tested their threshold both in 2016 and 2019, which we use the air power also, and this time we wanted to call it bluff, because in case we would have allowed Pakistan to carry on with this bluff, then we would have never been able to sort out Pakistani's sponsorship on the terrorism. Though I am quite sure that this action has given a strong signal, but given the nature of Pakistan polity and their military and ISI being in power, despite the democratically elected government, they are not going to change their course much. It may just remain subdued for some time. But we have the openings now that we can take it to any level, and we are not going to cow down just because that they have a nuclear weapons.
There's a lot of chatter on social media also about India hitting their nuclear weapon site. You think that there is something in that India was able to do that?
I don't think so. India is a very, very mature nation, and India will never take any action to hit the nuclear weapons of Pakistan, which is running around in media and social media about the Kirana Hills attack and that nuclear detonation, release of energy and all that. But India has not, not made any attempt whatsoever to hit the nuclear arsenal and target of Pakistan. The spokesperson of Army, Navy, Air Force, they have also made it very, very clear. So therefore, nothing of that kind. But what is important, that International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, must take note that this kind of resource must not fall on the irresponsible hands, because then that is pretty dangerous. Otherwise, India has not done anything. There is an agreement between India and Pakistan that we will not attack each other's nuclear installations. At every beginning of the year, the list of installation, everything is passed. So India remains committed to that kind of commitment. It has not been changed. And to my knowledge, what I've been told by the government, it has just speculation, but nothing of this kind has happened.
Keeping in view the nexus between military, mullah and mujahid in Pakistan, because Pakistan has proved to be a very irresponsible nation, and you think that the time has come when IAEA need to take control of the nuclear weapon that Pakistan has got?
Absolutely, I said so. In fact, our Honorable Defence Minister has also made this statement while he was visiting Jammu and Kashmir. And I'm sure countries like USA and West, they are also worried. So sooner or later, unless Pakistan takes corrective actions, these things will happen. India is also mobilizing its political power, diplomatic power, where people are going all over. So besides stating the Indian stance, I'm sure they will also tell the irresponsible attitude of Pakistan in support of terrorism, as well as not being capable of handling this nuclear assets. So IAEA must step in for the international good.
We have seen that India was able to thwart any kind of aerial incursion from their side. India was able to hit at their air bases, especially was able to strike in the heart of Pakistan, that is Rawalpindi, the Noor Khan Air Base, also known as Chaklala Air Base. So you think that this must have left General Asim Munir somewhere scratching his forehead, that what really is going on, because he must not have expected that India was going to hit out in such a large scale.
Absolutely. If you really see the statements which came, that once we did the strike on 7th morning, we told categorically that we have not even touched the military infrastructure, whereas the military was, including the ISI, was actually behind the support being provided to the terrorists. But still we had focused only on the terror infrastructure and the terrorists. We had not touched even military infrastructure. And we said so, that we advised them that you can keep it yourself off from this kind of action because it is against terrorists. But they chose not to do so. Naturally, his morale would have gone to the boats. But they are currently busy building the fake narratives of utilizing the sources, including the Western media, China, and elsewhere. But I'm sure he would have a lot of things to ponder over, the way things have gone.
My question is related to what actually you said, because throughout we had been saying that we will not be targeting civilians. Fine, agreed. We never wanted to escalate things. We always wanted to target terror then. We said we will not be targeting military installation. But everybody knows that it is the deep state, it is the Pakistan army that is the architect of all the terror-related activity, and they are one who are sponsoring, aiding, abetting terror. So why we are trying to give kind of a clean chit to army by saying that we don't want to target army? Because you don't think that somewhere we are saying that army and trying to dehyphenate army from the mujahid, military from the mujahid?
No, it was not that. You have to see, look at it little differently. We have stated right from the word go, even by the Prime Minister, that we will trace and kill the terrorists, including those who are supporting that. The moment you say so, it clearly means that you are looking at the Pakistani military establishments, including their ISI. However, the first strike was only on the terrorist infrastructure and not on the military infrastructure, because at that point of time we did not want to get involved in any kind of escalation. Pakistan is a rogue country, they have nothing to lose. we have a huge aspirations. We want to take care of our people, and this thing we have multiple options, to checkmate the happiness of Pakistan and its military establishment. You will see when the Indus Water Treaty gets finally implemented in real terms. So what kind of pressure will come on Pakistan. And our statement of not touching military infrastructure was only on 7th May morning after we hit the terrorist infrastructure. Thereafter, we have not said so. Otherwise, if you see on 10th morning, all targets are military infrastructure only. All the air bases, air defense radars, everything is military. So it was only first time when we hit the terrorist infrastructure and terrorists. That time we made a distinction between them and the Pakistani military establishment, but not thereafter, because the moment the military started responding on our military establishments and other assets on with the drones and subsequently with missiles and things like that. So thereafter, India's response has been on military infrastructure in a big way.
Because though we had been able to kill more than 100 terrorists, because when we talk about Lashkar-e-Toiba, the only name that comes in our mind is Hafiz Saeed. When we talk about Jaish-e-Mohammed, it's Masood Azhar. You think that it's really sad that both of them survived this attack?
Well, that's true, but I'm sure they will also get killed in some way, the way things are unfolding. But besides them, because when they were not there, it is not that the terrorism was not existing in India and was not being supported by Pakistan. People come and go. It is the ideology and thought which has to be targeted and killed. That is more important. But you are absolutely right that there is a need to eliminate these two people as well, because today we are living in an era where along with the sinner has also to be eliminated.
You think that India has been able to send a message loud and clear that there is nothing called safe haven for these people now in Pakistan? There is no place where they can hide in near future.
Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. I fully agree with you.
One last question, sir. I took enough of your time. How you see this new security doctrine that has been spelled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that in future, any act of terror will be seen as act of war? Because if we talk about this new security doctrine, this is based on 4D. It's about deterrence, it is about defense, it is about decimation of terror hideouts, and also dominance.
Well, if you really see out of multiple takeaways which one can take from Operation Sindoor, though it is still continuing, is this point which you have just stated, that any act of terror will be constituting an act of war. It means whether there is a terrorist activity anywhere in Indian states, whether in Jammu and Kashmir and anywhere else, which has got a connect to any sponsoring nature, India will treat this as an act of war and respond in the manner possible. So it is a major shift of the thought process. These thought processes were never existent in our ecosystem, and they were never told as such. It is not that the Pakistani terrorists have killed people only in 2016, 19, and now in 2025. There have been number of occasions where they have also involved in killing. Even at times 5 to 10 to 15 people have been killed of different kind. But this newly evolved doctrine is something which puts India in a different level altogether, and the kind of capacity which we have been able to demonstrate, that will continue to be upgraded in times to come in case we have to operationalize that kind of philosophy in our lives.
One war we fought in the battlefield where we had been able to batter Pakistan as well as Chinese equipment. But there is a war that we are fighting that is in the digital domain. Now the delegation of member parliament will be going to different parts of the world. And you think that India will be able to demolish the fake narrative that the Pakistan is trying to set in, that they are victim of war and it's only the civilians who have been targeted?
Absolutely. If you really see, whenever an act of war has taken place at any point of time, the whole country has been united every time. But this time when Pakistani supported terrorists stuck in Pahalgam, there was no war on that day. But you see what has happened. The government, obvious reasons, entire opposition, all parties, including the AIM, IM, and its head, the OIC, people from all the states, even the Kashmiris, there was no voice in the country which was not unified. Pakistanis thought that they will create the fault line in the Indian society and leverage that to their advantage. That's why they chose religion to select the people, but it went totally against them. I think this is the biggest takeaway and good which has happened in India, and that thing is still continuing. That was also demonstrated by selecting the proper spokesperson during the briefings, wherein two ladies were brought in, one reflecting the women power, and second balanced mix of Hindu and Muslim, to showcase that this is our belief, because India has opted for a secular character by a conscious decision when the India and Pakistan were partitioned, and Pakistan has chosen to become a country which is religion based.
So very important message and very important thing that has come out of this Operation Sindoor. We saw that why the communal massacre was carried out on April 22nd. Basically, they wanted to widen fault line between Hindus and Muslims. They wanted to destabilize situation here. But what has really happened, rightly said by Kiran Rijiju, it's about one mission, one message, one Bharat. It is with that message to isolate Pakistanis that Indian delegation will be going to different parts of the world and convince world that what Pakistan is saying is not the real story.